So in the previous video, we mentioned that the nodes of the moon are going to transit to the signs of Cancer for the North Node and Capricorn for the South Node. And we did mention that these transits are quite important, perhaps a bit more important than most people will give them credit for. And in this video, we're going to talk about the transit of the South Node through Capricorn. I already mentioned that I think that the transit of the South Node is going to be a tad bit more important generally for the general population this time around, and that's because Saturn is also transiting the sign of Capricorn, which it also rules. Now, if you have important placements in Cancer, if you're under a Rahu or North Node karmic cycle, then the transit of the North Node may be more important. But generally, for society at large, I guess, for the collective, it may be the transit of the South Node which we need to pay a bit more attention to. Now, the South Nodes, again, overly simplified, represents the force that dissipates karmas, that dismembers karmas which we no longer need. Things that we've experienced, things that our soul has experienced enough of. The South Node comes along and says, well, time to break it up, right? Time to dissipate this energy, time to scatter these indications, time to get rid of this, time to detach, right? Now, mind you, it's not always like, sometimes we can feel bored about the things that the South Node influences. Sometimes we may feel that those things just slip out of our hands while we try to hang on to them, and to no avail, okay? That's more so in the natal chart with regards to the house where you have the South Node in your chart. Of course, we also need to consider, for better understanding this transit, your natal South Node placement. But here we're going to talk more about what this transit may mean from the point of view of Capricorn and the conjunction to transiting Saturn. So first of all, what does Capricorn represent? Well, Capricorn represents the structures of hierarchy, I guess, right? It represents hierarchy mainly. It represents the higher strata of society or the lower strata. It can represent both, right? Oddly enough, even the first degree of Capricorn is represented by a double-bodied animal. And all of Capricorn is actually represented by a double-bodied animal, which is the seagoat, right? The fishtail and the upper body of a goat. So it's quite a dualistic, quite extreme sign. And of course, it's ruled by extreme planet Saturn, which definitely makes sense. Capricorn represents things like government structures, politics to a degree. It represents pragmatism, it represents discipline, it represents worldly achievements and status, right? Capricorns are known for wanting status, wanting some kind of recognition in society. So Capricorn revolves a lot around the structures of society, especially the higher strata for our purposes in this video. And with Saturn transiting here since December, I already spoke about that in a previous video that you can go watch. But on the one hand, there's a lot of rigidity that is going to be brought to some government structures, some of the layers of the higher strata of society in some way. People who have some high-aiming goals to achieve, as per, I want to gain this position within my company. I want to become known in society for this. I want to be successful and well known. Such individuals may feel a certain influence of Saturn, which is of the nature along the lines of Saturn is going to bring more structure to these ambitions, right? So, okay, you have this ambition, you want to reach that position, you want to be known for something, you want to establish a legacy, right? Capricorn is a lot about legacy. But here's what you have to do for it pragmatically and realistically speaking, right? Saturn and Capricorn isn't about... Sagittarius is high aiming as well, but Sagittarius can be idealistic. That's why Sagittarius can be known for aiming high and not always achieving their goals, because they're idealistic. They're not always realistic about the things that it will take, or the kind of effort or involvement that it takes to achieve their goals, right? And of course, Capricorn comes right after Sagittarius, and it's as if Sagittarius, right, that arrow of Sagittarius is aiming for Capricorn. Where does the goat live? The goat lives on top of the mountains, right? On top of the mountain, on the higher strata. That's where the goat lives. And the goat is very selective. The hybrid astrology keyword for Capricorn is selectivity, right? So we become more selective. We become more structured about pursuing the reputation that we want to attain in the world, and the position and the legacy that we want to obtain in the world. We become more mature, more realistic, more structured about that generally. But at the same time, there may be restrictions placed upon us as a result of that. Now, here I'm talking about Saturn because it's very important to talk a bit about Saturn in order to understand what the South Node is going to do here. We have seen that at government levels, at political levels, a lot of restrictions have been placed, right, in various ways. Now, I'm not going to mention any of them. If you've picked up a newspaper or just scroll down Facebook, you're probably aware of at least a few of these, right? Saturn represents restrictions. Capricorn represents the elites, right? So a lot of restrictive action going on there. Now, KETU is going to come, and KETU, as we mentioned before, it seeks to dissipate some energy, seeks to break something apart. And Saturn in Capricorn really talks about governmental structures, structures of hierarchy, and so forth. And KETU transiting Capricorn with Saturn really seeks to demolish some of these structures, for better or worse, right? Some of the old structures, some of the old hierarchies are going to feel a bit shaky now with KETU transiting Capricorn. Now go to the opposite sign where the North Node transits, and we spoke in the recent, in the last video about pursuit of security, of seeking, frantically seeking security, which is one of the main themes of the North Node transiting Cancer. And you can link these two together, right? If some structures on the higher strata will dissolve, will fall apart, then the people are going to be left with frantically seeking some security, right? Looking for safety in some way. Now, this doesn't, right, if you're making up some kind of catastrophic scenario in your mind, it doesn't necessarily need to be that. We can think a lot about previous structures, like, for example, economic structures. There's already questions about where economies are heading with all of the uncertainty. Now, KETU going into Capricorn will seek to further dissipate some well-established structures, which will then not be able to offer, I guess, prospects of security to the general population. And then again, we're going back to Rahu in Cancer, searching for security, seeking security, right? We will see people being obsessed, right? Obsessed is a keyword for Rahu. Obsessed about security, about safety, about how to perceive the world, uncertainty about how to perceive the situations that are going on. And really, a lot of how this is going to influence us on a personal level, obviously, has to do with the house that Capricorn is in our charts. How it's going to affect us in more concrete terms is more based on the house from the ascendant, whereas how this may influence us more in terms of our perception of the world, of how we view these events that are happening, will be seen as per the position of Capricorn taken from our natal moon. I think I will come up with some kind of offer to help you guys figure this out as per your chart. Again, these transits are going to be quite powerful. We could go into speculation about, what may be, what could be. But I'm not really interested in that, because I feel that in this segment I've really spoken about what is important to know about what the South Node seeks to do in Capricorn. It dissipates some structures, it dissipates some hierarchies. The South Node always seeks to detach us from something. Now here's the other thing. When KETU takes something away, which was a structure of safety for us, or that we feel that we needed, or that we feel that we're going to miss, perhaps. Whenever KETU does that, it's important to treat those things with a sense of detachment, right? Whatever KETU takes away from us, whatever KETU dissipates and dismembers, it always asks you to treat those things with detachment, and everything is going to be okay, all right? The more we try to hang on to the things that KETU seeks to scatter in the wind, we risk really being scattered in the wind together with those things, because KETU is not negotiating with us, right? KETU won't negotiate about the things that it's going to that it needs to get rid of, because remember, right, Rahu is the head of a dragon, or the head of a beast, bulging eyes, jaws open, looking to consume, right? You can negotiate with Rahu to a certain extent if you can offer it something that it wants, because the basic quality of Rahu is that it wants something, it desperately wants things, right? But then KETU is the tail of the dragon, has no head, has no eyes, has no mouth, and is completely unconcerned with the material world, where any kind of that word has, KETU has dissipated that word from my vocabulary, and I just used it. Negotiation. All right. So KETU, in the realm of KETU, negotiation doesn't exist. KETU just dissipates things. KETU just wants to get rid of karmas, to liberate us from karmas, and that's the ultimate good, if there is such a thing as good or bad, right? As physical beings, as beings with attachments, we may not perceive that as being the best thing, especially in the moment when KETU seeks to take something away from us or to scatter something. But at the end of the day, the main purpose of KETU is freedom, is absolute freedom from any kind of bondage to any kind of dualistic, material, physical things, attachments, right? Bondages. So guys, I hope that this information is going to be useful to you. Again, I'm going to come up with an offer. I'm not sure exactly right now how it's going to look, but as soon as I close this video, I'm going to get to designing that to offer you some insights affordably on these transits, because again, we really shouldn't neglect these transits. One other thing which you could do is go grab the Hybrid Astrology Backbone, pull up your charts and figure it out for yourself based on the Hybrid Astrology techniques. Guys, I'm really looking forward to these transits, even though they're going to be a bit shaky, but you know, that's always where opportunity lies. I'll see you on the next video. Ciao.